How's it going, everybody? Rob here, back with another video. And, well, we are going to be looking at another piece of content. This time from Joon The King. This one is on, apparently, investigating the JELLOAPOCALYPSE backlash. Oh boy. I'm actually going to switch it to there. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this.
The show Lovely Complex, more specifically the English dub released in 2024, received a large wave of criticism after one of its adapters disparaged the original work and gloated about how much they improved it. Quote,
okay.
We made it good. This show sucked. I think we turned an unremarkable and frustrating 3 out of 10 show into a pretty funny and mostly watchable 7 out of 10, unquote. This was thrust into the forefront of the ongoing conversation of what the role of an adapter should be. Accuracy versus modernization, faithfulness versus entertainment. This arrogance encouraged examination of Jello's own works, which largely consist of hypercritical satirical videos that arguably blend comedy with personal criticism. It is undeniable that Jello has always been outspoken, namely with his infamous, now deleted vote video. Vote.
I know that I know I've seen I think a couple of his videos, not a lot, but anyway.
Vote. That beyond the typical flack any political video gets, was criticized for the lack of positive links in the information they presented. This video will go through Jello's history and attempt to understand how this all came to be, what Jello changed, and what the aftermath of it all was.
Okay.
The channel JELLOAPOCALYPSE was created September 10, 2009, but did not begin uploading until 2012. Its first available upload is Welcome to DeviantArt.
Here
Welcome to DeviantArt.
Fanfiction, poetry, original screenplays, fanfiction, comedic writing, non-fiction, fanfiction, and erotic fanfiction.
This video's success would over time solidify what would be Jello's mainstay content. For the time being, Jello focused on social media websites. As such, the next video was one on Facebook.
Why do you fish for attention like this? She said anonymously over Facebook. Wait, are you using the death of this girl who used to go to your school as a way to get attention and seem like a more caring person?
These videos satirize not so much the platform, but the types of people found on these platforms. It was in August of 2013 that JELLOAPOCALYPSE experienced tremendous growth after a widely successful Welcome to YouTube video. The channel went from under 1,000 subscribers to over 46,000. While these videos were not lengthy, they did include original illustrations throughout, undoubtedly increasing the effort taken to produce them. This is—
I'm sorry, like, the little figures for Jello's videos reminds me of the little figurine, or at least the character that you would play as for oh my gosh, I can't remember what it's called, but it was a little game where it's like you just play this little figure and you're jumping off a cliff, and that's like basically the game. No, that's right, it was called The Game, and it would just like keep getting weirder and weirder as you progressed.
Is likely why they were only released at a rate of 2 per year. Jello released other videos around this time. There were also 2 other series he was dedicated to. One was a fan dub of a webcomic, and another was a series in a similar vein.
The following is a non-profit fan-based parody. Bacano is owned by Funimation, Aniplex, Brainspace, and Ryogo Narita. Please support the official release.
This was taken from episode 3 of Jello's Bacano Bridge series. By its very nature, it's a shortened dub with Jello and friends voicing its various characters, shortened and befitting his crass style.
So any idea what it could be? Tell us and we'll make it worth your while.
500.
What?
500 bones and not a penny less. Douchebag. That'll be 500 big ones.
What?
That was the whole entry. Pay up.
Bacano Abridged, as seen in the screenshot, was eclipsed several times over in terms of views by his Welcome to series, that by late 2014 had helped grow his channel to over 200,000 subscribers, and to that extent, his sister helped as well.
You and Chula wrote almost all of Welcome to Tumblr, which was very fun, getting flamed for being a cisgender male who hates Tumblr, and I never used it ever. I just narrated it and animated it, basically. That was fun.
I mean, Tumblr sucks, but you can use it.
Whoa there, Slugger. A vagina on a man is a good start, but you can't go around calling yourself a hermaphrodite. That's racist. What you need is a politically correct name for yourself you can use to yell at people with. You're not a hermaphrodite, you're vaginable.
When you're inevitably confronted by angry mobs of your followers, simply tell them that you lost control of your feels and that you have a debilitating Gold Rush-era disease that prevents you from thinking clearly at night.
Welcome to Tumblr is one of Jello's most viewed videos, yet was possibly his first instance with major backlash.
I came home on Sunday, and I got online, and it's unusual for me to be off Skype for 2 days straight, and there had been there was that big reaction to it, and I got online and you and some of our friends were like, oh, you're alive. What happened? I was like, oh, what do you mean, what happened? And then we looked at all the feedback, and I did get some death threats. That was a fun time.
As per this pinned comment, Jello later apologized for his Welcome to Tumblr video. Even with some pushback, Jello continued to grow up rapidly.
Yeah.
By late 2015...
I mean, I personally want to say you shouldn't be apologetic in terms of comedy and stuff like that. I mean, comedy in itself is subjective, so...
His channel was on track to hit 500,000 subscribers, yet Brendan Blaber, the person behind the JELLOAPOCALYPSE channel, had aspirations to do work beyond his channel, made clear by this 2014 demo reel video.
Brendan Blaber.
You simply turn this crank, and out pops a cute little plastic capsule.
It's alright.
Okay.
They weren't as strong as they looked.
This is a demo reel meant to demonstrate Jello's voice acting range. After all, running out of popular social media websites to cover, there did not seem to be much of a future for the series, at least in terms of strictly covering social media platforms. This is likely why the series was expanded to cover television shows and later video games under So This Is Basically, as a spiritual successor
where he
to the Welcome
focuses
to
on
series.
different
More than
shows
Welcome
and
to
stuff.
videos were done under the style of the 1950s educational film. The So This Is Basically videos are hammed up through intentional mispronunciations, and from the outset have a much less professional style of narration.
Steven Universe is a show about the Crystal Gems. Darn it, Armrest, and Squidward. They babysit Steven Universe and go on adventures.
The last Welcome to video was released in late 2016. As it turned out, he was almost not able to make this video or any other video for that matter, as in late 2016, his Bacano Bridge videos were copyright struck, leading to the creation of a backup channel and the looming threat of his channel's removal. All it would take was one more strike.
I got the first 2 strikes in under 5 minutes, and if I get one more strike, the channel goes down. So I'm being real careful from now on, but in case the worst does happen, I'm creating a backup channel which you can subscribe to by clicking this link.
But YouTube was not necessarily at odds with Jello. The YouTube Gaming Twitter account even posted a 22-second clip of his. The most pushback he got from anywhere after the copyright strike was not even from YouTube, but a This Is Basically video on the television show Adventure Time.
Watch, the show goes from a series of episodes with no conclusions to a series of character arcs with no conclusions.
Hey, how do we write endings? Just eat some glue and write down whatever you see. I don't see anything.
Though this video was overall well received at 6% dislikes, it was the start of a pattern. Whenever Jello does not like a piece of media in earnest, he will likely...
I'll say this though. Never piss off the fandoms. They will fight back.
Focus on the creators, substituting would-be jabs at
or at least don't
found in
piss them
that
off
piece of
too
media
much.
for personal, scathing commentary. And make no mistake, Jello does not like Adventure Time.
The only So This Is Basically that I think has had a large amount of negative reception to is Adventure Time, which is a show that right now in 2016 I think there's zero reason to watch ever or recommend to anyone because everything it does well, there's now another show that does it better.
Those people are leaving because they hate you.
Goodbye.
Jello accrued at most a minuscule group of people that dislike his work.
People are leaving?
Goodbye. Anyone, because everything it does well, there's now another show that does it better.
Those people are leaving because they hate you.
Goodbye.
Jello accrued at most a minuscule group of people that disliked his work, practically all formed from superfans of the series he criticized. Even that seemed to be last...
I will say it's interesting. I mean, in terms of what Adventure Time does, I mean, it's interesting, but at the same time, they're shows that not even from the U.S. that have so much shit that happens in them and have unfortunately have lived longer. I think that actually, if anything, the perfect example would probably be One Piece. I mean, good God, I haven't watched much from One Piece, but I know, and I think a lot of other people know, how much of an influence that show actually has. But anyway.
And less impactful, as Jello's videos were, for the most part, seen as a celebration of whatever he was covering. In 2017, Jello even got Butch Hardman to voice a character in his Danny Phantom video.
Rebreather! Ah, Ghost Boy, you're just in time for me to ruin Jack and Maddie Fenton's anniversary cruise, and once their relationship has been scuttled, they'll get a divorce!
Thank you all for watching, and a huge thank you to Butch Hartman for letting me make fun of his show, and for designing and voicing Rebreather.
Oh yeah, okay, that's actually kind of cool, because he's the one that did Danny Phantom, as well as I am drawing a blank. My Fairly Odd Parents. You know, those kind of shows.
2 months after that video's release, JELLOAPOCALYPSE hit 1 million subscribers.
Nice.
The following year, specifically in November, Jello tweeted, quote, "Might be putting up a special video tomorrow. It's not anything like what I usually post, but I think it's really important." unquote. Quote, I expected the level of initial backlash, but not the length of time it will continue for, unquote. That second quote was from an email I received from Jello. It was a response to the question, for the 2018 vote video, did you expect the level of backlash you received?
This is a message for my American viewers. Vote. Vote, vote, vote. Vote on Tuesday, November the 6th. Vote now, if you can. Get your friends to vote. Get your family to vote. Get everyone you know to vote.
This video was unlike any other Jello's videos. It was for the 2018 midterms, and while it starts off lightly with a simple call to action to vote, the second half is more direct with its messaging.
If you voted for the current administration because you genuinely thought they would really help America, that's fine. That's what you should always do. Your vote and your voice matter. But don't be afraid to look at our country now and reconsider.
Okay, I could see where he was. So, I want to say at first, I mean, looking at, like, I would have to guess, like, the first part of the video, you know, probably where you're just telling people to vote. Okay, that's understandable. But to then direct to a certain side, then there's the problem.
There's nothing wrong with having backed the wrong horse. There is something wrong with seeing that horse running towards a cliff and refusing to get off, just because it's your horse. Vote.
The original video was deleted, but...
Which I should point out that, again, anytime I mention politics, I'm neither Republican nor Democrat. I can't stand either or at least to an extent, and I recognize that people I know are either going to be on one side or the other, but at the same time, I'm not going to lean towards either side. I really am. Or I really am not. And I recognize some of the issues that we had with the previous legislations. I mean, unfortunately, Trump, yeah, he's a fucking ass. Biden, do I even need to go there? But either way, overall, it just, the last few years have been nothing but a shit show. And unfortunately, in terms of legislation, we've had the wrong people on both sides, you know, thinking that they know what's best for the country, or at least what's best for their communities or their states. Even though there are people that are dealing with poverty and whatnot, and you have these people in their freaking mansions, you know, sipping their tea through, you know, perfect china or some crap.
Was re-uploaded. Some comments on the re-upload read, quote, why was he embarrassed of this vid? It's actually pretty... Oh no. This feels like a parody. It even has overbearing music. Well, that was fine until about the 50% point.
Yeah.
Unquote. As with anything political, Jello's vote video had a very split reception. Content creator Turkey Tom even made a video covering it, including the lack of causal links with certain claims.
It is not partisan in any way, really. If the video ended here, then I wouldn't have made this response video. And he
Yeah.
wouldn't have been made fun of on Twitter by people like Emplement and Easy Peasy as extensively as he was.
I mean, ultimately, for the first part, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just them leaning towards one side is where the issue happens.
Vote like a black man was from a tree for protesting police violence, and policed black men just for being black. Vote like Jewish people are being down in a synagogue like it's 1939.
Ah, I see, Jello. So now everyone that voted for Donald Trump is responsible for the death of an innocent man, and they're also responsible for a synagogue shooting.
One claim that Turkey Tom, and to that extent Jello, focuses on in their videos is that of Donye Jones, which some believe to be a... However, it was deemed as by police and later as by a medical examiner. Even an independent investigation at best was inconclusive with its findings. The second claim...
There's a lot of blurring.
...of note was at a synagogue. The shooter was actually not a fan of the president, and was following extremist conspiracy theories. I asked Jello about these, and if he felt that they were fair in terms of rhetoric, to which he responded, quote, for the most part I would say yes. I think it was fair. I used those examples for a few reasons. First, and most obviously, they were recent and had been weighing on my mind since I read about them. The Donye Jones one especially. I spent a lot of time from 2018 through 2020 doing independent research for a crime thriller TTRPG series I was planning to do after Epithet Erased called Sweetwater about a fictional murder investigation to be set in 2004. I did not end up producing the series for a variety of reasons, but I did do a few thousand hours of work for it, including animating the opening. A lot of research I did focused on police procedure in the US over the last few decades. To be very brief, it's a disturbing topic with an uncomfortable amount of incompetence and more bribery and cover-ups than one would hope. The Donye Jones case had so many commonalities that it really struck a chord with me. Unquote. Jello goes on to state that these were meant to illustrate that the United States was moving towards normalizing far-right extremism, prejudices, and acts of violence. And while he accepts they are not direct one-to results of the election, he does believe there is an undeniable connection in rhetoric of the Republican Party and an erosion of safety for minority groups. Jello also expresses his feelings about the current administration and the state of the world, and ends the response with, quote, "The biggest mark I personally have against the video is that it's pretty clunky, as it was produced in less than 48 hours because the election was coming up later that week. The art's pretty ugly," unquote. Jello also received backlash from some tweets/comments he made about the video. Quote, "This was one big wave of bot comments all reading Orange Man bad, and just the word vote. That was around 90% of it. I received messages from friends I had collaborated with in the past letting me know that they were getting similar comments for the first few months," unquote. Beyond that, it's hard to say Jello's channel was even minorly affected. Though in November, he did lose a net of 9.6 thousand subscribers, his viewership remained on the same trajectory as if nothing happened at all.
The political
there were other
views,
videos that brought on the ire of some viewers, like his video on Ruby. All because of this frame that spoils a reveal in the series. It depicts a deceased member on the then unreleased Volume 7. However, it is in this volume that the character is brought back. Jello's Ruby video was released June 7, 2019. Ruby Volume 7 began airing November 2nd, 2019. It was after this was revealed that some comments began popping up mentioning the coincidence of Jello accidentally predicting the revival of this character. But was it really an accident? This Reddit post has a screenshot of one of the comments with Jello responding, quote, "Honestly, it's because I live in Texas and I auditioned for the show. Some of the audition packets have mild spoilers in them," unquote. Though the comments of this post are rather indifferent about Jello's response, stating that the revival of the character was highly predictable, rumors would eventually spread that Jello spoiled the revival of this character with intent, or rather revenge for not getting the role he wanted. This is quite the
What
stretch,
role did he
as
want?
I asked Jello about this, and he sent me this image. This is a storyboard. As Jello explained in his Patreon announcement video, he has an illustrator. Attached to the storyboard are the directions, quote, "The scene fades out and a cover for Volume 7 appears in the style of the previous volume covers you've drawn. Let's say this one has maybe Crow, Neo, Torchwick, Ironwood, or Penny on it. Your call." So it was actually, in the end, just a coincidence. I did get audition sites that I think mentioned Penny's name sometime between storyboarding and the video's release, and it was like, oh wow, that's a funny coincidence we used her, that'll age well, unquote. Jello goes on to state that he did not have the explicit intention to spoil anything, and as for the screenshot of his comment, quote, "I think I made that comment years after the fact and misremembered since the video is almost 6 years old," unquote.
Okay.
Jello also states, quote, "For what it's worth, including Penny in that fake Volume 7 poster would not have been considered breaking NDA. It's understood in the context of the video to be a silly offhand prediction," unquote. What makes a rumor that Jello spoiled the series out of revenge even more unlikely is that he eventually did get a role in the show.
Oh, he did get on the show? Oh!
The diamond-studded rabbit!
What's more, a writer really followed Jello and was friendly with him on Twitter.
That was him? Okay, that's kind of cool. I'm looking forward to that, because I think that was, what? Season 6 or 7?
As for Jello's own projects, interestingly enough, the same month that Ruby Volume 7 premiered, Jello's own series did as well. This show is loosely based off a D&D formatted campaign that Jello streamed in 2016. This is a core component of the show with the constant grid-based scenery or mentions of the character's stamina and abilities as would be present in any given campaign. Being that it is only loosely based off of this tabletop campaign, and in turn that campaign is based off different anime, Epithet Erased has its own original story, but the same world. This is Jello speaking about the original campaign in a 2016 panel.
If you're familiar with stands in JoJo or quirks in My Hero Academia, is that what it's called? It's basically the same thing. We roll 3 random words, and you pick one. You pick your favorite, and that becomes the basis for your power set.
The main character of Epithet Erased has the power of dumb. This allows her to dumb down others' intelligence or dumb down properties of virtually anything. Though the series is not fully animated and the characters often describe their actions in place of would-be animation, the impressiveness of this could be found in its creation. During Epithet's production, I was the only manager, so everything went through me as a bottleneck. Music, sound effects, animation, artwork, coloring, everything. I asked VRV, the streaming service that commissioned the series, for deadline extensions and managed to get 2 of them. But our contract was pretty rough and we were down to the wire for almost the entire production. The original contract only allowed 7 weeks of production time for 7 fully animated episodes. I was due to take that contract and had to fight against it the entire time. They also only offered $100,000, which is a good amount of money in general, but almost nothing for animation work. I spent a further $250,000 of my own money and loans to finance the series.
That's a lot of money.
We were not able to hire nearly as many employees as I would have liked, unquote. Jello goes on to state how he worked 14 hours a day non-stop from September to December. This gave him a bad case of carpal tunnel and put much pressure on a nerve in his elbow.
Subscribe, because I took a year off from physical injuries I got while working on Epithet Erased 14 hours a day for 7 months a couple years ago, and if you take a year off of YouTube, you just don't get any more subscribers. It's been sitting at that 1.8 mil mark for like Oh man, like 2 years.
This is all to explain the sudden absence of This Is Basically videos from late 2020 to mid-2022. Though this period was absent of the mainstay series, it was full of edited gameplay videos. The full VODs could be found on his backup channel turned Let's Play channel. As for Epithet Erased, it did get a second season of sorts. Rather than it being an animated series, this came in the form of a novel with accompanying audiobooks which featured the original cast. The Kickstarter alone for this raised more than the first season cost to produce. In a space full of failed projects, overambition, and an inability to expand, it seems that Jello can fit into any role. Not only has he proven to be a talented YouTuber with a popular over decade-long series, he has proven that he is able to expand beyond that with the creation and popularity of Epithet Erased. On top of this, he's also a voice actor. Jello post
from what I've seen, he seems very talented.
As stated in his So This Is Basically Genshin Impact video.
Thank you guys so much for watching, not just this video, but the whole So This Is Basically series. And I want to say that because this is the last one that we have plans to make. We've gotten really busy with other stuff. I'm working on more video game videos like the Dogs in Love and Miles is a Robot series. And more than anything, I'm focusing on my voice acting career and writing more stuff for Epithet Erased.
At the time of that video's release, Jello had already started working on Lovely Complex. Over the course of its production, as more and more hands were on deck, this was viewed as a passion project. An unremarkable 3 out of 10 show, to then a bastardization of art. But what was it really? At its core, it is an anime, one targeted at adolescent girls. It is also known as love-com, which conveniently fits its romantic comedy genre. The story revolves around Risa, a teenage girl who stands at 5'7". The average height of a Japanese man is also 5'7". Risa is insecure about her height. She sees herself as lacking in femininity because of it, yet she falls for Otani, a class member who is 5 inches shorter at 5'2". Though she often prattles about how disadvantaged she is and constantly teases Otani for his own height, and he returns the sentiment, she does not view his height as a shortcoming. There is a dissonance in the way she views height. She constantly focuses on what she thinks she should be instead of what she is. And the first season of the show is her largely coming to terms with that. She is a teenage girl in a confusing time in her life who finds it difficult to translate her emotions. This show is licensed in North America by Discotek, a company that, per their Facebook intro, quote, licenses and releases anime and live-action Asian movies on VHS in North America, unquote. This is not entirely true. The company has more recently placed a focus on Blu-rays. Discotek preserves and disseminates copies of all Japanese media. They've been doing this for about 2 decades. This is their website from 2007. Then this is their current website. It has not even updated the old Twitter logo. The important thing about Discotek is that they are the North American distributor to Lovely Complex. The series already had a release with English subtitles. Yet in early 2021, as per this email with Jello, quote, the CEO of Sound Cadence, Amber Lee Connors, arranges with Discotek Media, the American distributor, to create a dub for the 2007 romantic comedy Toei series Lovely Complex. Amber is a personal fan of the show. Discotek is not initially looking to produce a dub for it, so Amber convinces them to do it at a discount rate, but over a much longer period of time than a normal dub would take. From my understanding, it was at or no dub at all. To make up for the cut production budget, Amber planned to voice the main character entirely for free. Her then partner, Howard, will play the other lead as a favor to Amber, also for free. Similarly, Marissa Lenti will direct and write the show's adaptation at Amber's request free of charge. With these major positions being done pro bono, the studio would have just enough money to produce the dub, unquote. It was in April that Jello talked with Marissa about writing the adaptation. Jello, seeking to gain experience, joins Marissa in writing, but production was troubled and slow. Jello estimates that they did 1 episode a month. This, for a period, got better.
I can only imagine how long it would take to not only
keeping the production together
but also
was
do
an
the voice
absolutely
acting
nightmare
stuff
for Marissa, and really wore on her over several long months, unquote. About a year later, production was nearly complete. Quote, unfortunately, at the start of January, Marissa is struck with a severe illness that resulted in pain so severe her body seizes up. She is hospitalized and unable to move. The dub has been in production nearly 2 years at this point and must be finished soon. Marissa is really worried her illness would be the final nail in the coffin that would prevent the project from being complete, so I volunteered to take over her directing duties for her. I am the only person who has an adjustable enough schedule, knows the show well, and is willing to do work for free. I covered direction on the last third of the series for just the lead actors. Everything else was done by Marissa. With everything narrowly coming together, the dub is finished and sent off to Discotek, and then to Toei for several rounds of approval, unquote. Many months later, Toei finally approves the dub and Discotek moves to produce the Blu-ray. It was in October of 2023 that Discotek announced a dub of Lovely Complex. It even has a voice cameo from content creator Moist Critical.
I didn't realize this until just now, but I think about you all the time. I like you.
Finally, in January 2024, the Blu-ray releases. And
no way, that was actually him? Hold on. A cameo clip showing off Kane. Okay, hold on. That actually was him?
From content creator Moist Critical.
I didn't realize this until just now, but I think about you all the time. I like you.
Oh my god, that is him! Oh my god.
Finally, in January 2024, the Blu-ray releases, and Jello finishes his contract work with Sound Cadence on an entirely separate project, meaning that Jello has effectively finished working with Sound Cadence. Nothing likely would have come of any of this. This was a dub made for a very niche audience. It needed several special favors and a low rate to even be made. But one Patreon post changed it all. Quote, February 10th, 2024. I have been bedridden for several days and cannot work, so I spent the day compiling a video of my favorite clips from the dub. After doing that, I decided to write up a post for my patrons about my work on the project and some of its troubled production. Personally, I believe there is a lot of merit to be had in transparency from people working in the entertainment industry. Many productions face bumps in the road, and I think one of the best ways to avoid those issues in the future is to share stories so readers can learn from them. However, I am a very blunt and critical person.
So that's it. They're completely self-righteous pricks. They are. It doesn't matter if they're woke pricks or not. There's the same people that try to do this with other types of media too.
Oh god.
Quote, the text in my post isn't too different from how I speak in other Patreon posts.
It is the worst kind of arrogance to say that you know better than a writer whose your job is to make the writer's words work in another language.
But blunt and critical writing never looks good to an outside viewer.
Basically what I'm hearing is, we take old anime, and then we pussify it, so
oh wow,
people don't get
even,
mad.
you know, so freaking Asmin, hold on, let me go back, see some of these channels.
Post changed it
all. Talk about it.
Quote, February 10th, 2024. I have been bedridden for several days and cannot work, so I spent the day compiling a video of my favorite clips from the dub. After doing that, I decided to write up a post for my patrons about my work on the project and some of its troubled production. Personally, I believe there is a lot of merit to be had in transparency from people working in the entertainment industry. Many productions face bumps in the road, and I think one of the best ways to avoid those issues in the future is to share stories so readers can learn from them. However, I am a very blunt and critical person.
So that's it. They're completely self-righteous pricks. They are.
So Asmin spoke about this.
It doesn't matter if they're woke pricks or not. There's the same people that try to do this with other types of media too.
Quote, the text in my post isn't too different from how I speak in other Patreon posts.
It is the worst kind of arrogance to say.
Anthony, I can't read it. Anthony Gramagolia? Okay.
Say that you know better than a writer whose your job is to make the writer's words work in another language.
But blunt and critical
yeah,
writing
true.
never looks good to an outside
He's
viewer.
right, though.
Basically what I'm hearing is, we take old anime, and then we pussify it, so that Twitter people don't get mad.
Especially one
my
unfamiliar
God.
with my voice.
Clownfish is
Jello's
awesome.
post was available to everyone, and not everyone was pleased with what he had written down. Quote, by the time midnight on the 11th rolled around, Marissa was contacted by Discotech who asked me to take the post down, unquote. While the post is no longer up in its original form, because of its nature, it was archived through websites like the Wayback Machine. This archive does lack Jello's attached video. Jello opens the body of the post explaining what Lovely Complex is, going as far as to call it a grandmother in the shoujo genre. Jello then explains his and Marissa Lenti's work behind it, and how it all came to be. Within the first paragraph, he mocks its premise. The next couple paragraphs go over how this dub was inexpensively made and issues that plagued the production. Finally, he begins to talk about his involvement. Quote, the two of us spent many hours across many days slogging through Lovecom episodes, and while Marissa thought she'd sorta hated Lovecom's original writing, I came to the conclusion that I definitely hated Lovely Complex. Okay, so it is quite unprofessional to—
So why did you continue the project, though?
openly shit-talk a property you worked on in this industry. Lenti cannot express any opinion as they have an official relationship with Sound Cadence Studios, Discotech, and Toei Animation. I, however, was a freelancing contractor and do not have any of those things. I'm not speaking for Lenti anywhere in this post. Who can say what Lenti thinks? I'm sure I don't know, but I will tell you what I think. And I think that Lovecom is a bad show about Risa Koizumi, an actual psychopath, and all-over useless freak.
What the? Why would you go out of your? I mean, if you're part of a project, why would you go out of your way to basically shit on the project? That's kind of like what happened with freaking recently with some of the Disney shit, with fucking was it Rachel Zegler and freaking Snow White? Between her political posts, she was basically shitting on the project, the original property. It's like, why would you take part on a freaking on a project that you don't have any care for? Makes no fucking sense whatsoever.
Unquote. Jello goes on to express his displeasure of the main character, labeling her an inconsistently written awful character, stating she is abusive towards Otoni the entire series, going as far as to say, quote, I hate her terribly, unquote. Jello also discusses his dislike of other elements of the show, such as the pacing and the generic nature of many of the episodes. Baffled at what he was watching, he sought to compare it to different adaptations of the story, such as the movie and the manga. He then praises Toei, the producers of the anime, for not including several arcs that were found in the manga. Quote, perhaps the thing Lovely Complex is most infamous for is the above character Seiko, who happens to be played by Oz in our dub. Seiko is a male-to-female trans girl who is introduced in a trans panic episode. It is not great. The original episode has a random extra outer, the rest of the cast making fun of Otani for kissing a quote-unquote boy, and gives Nobuko this extremely weird anti-trans radar that makes her dislike Seiko right off the bat. Unquote. This is incorrect. Nobuko, Risa's friend, dislikes Seiko because, just like when she was a freshman, Seiko did not wear her uniform the first day, so she gets scolded by one of the monitors. But this monitor even agrees that her outfit is cute. The next scene is of Nobuko and Risa shopping because she sees her as her rival in terms of being cute. There is no implication that it's because she is trans. The clip on screen was from the original subtitles, or subs for short. I asked Jello if it was this English sub that was used to make the dub. He was not entirely sure, but he does state, quote, "But I remember the first episode, Risa punches Otani and says something like, 'If you've got balls, that means you're a man,' and the balls is censored with a bleep," unquote. This is accurate to the subs of the original series, meaning this was the source used to create the dub and will be used to compare all claims against the dub while having the original subtitles on screen. As for the Patreon post, Jello types more about Seiko, stating that the original series was cruel towards Seiko with how other characters would interact with her.
I'm gonna say this, because I'm gonna say that, it's interesting because Aden, recently, Aden and I had a interesting conversation about, myself, Aden, MJ. We were talking about a particular show he was watching, and that how the dub was basically really changing the dialogue of all the characters, making it just sound like just separating it from the original work and just overall not making any sense. If anything, trying to use like current day like urban like terminology and stuff like that, and it sounds terrible. Like just reading it like hurt us. So, and I think that's the biggest problem with a lot of currently with a lot of current day dubbing for anime, is that you try, at least some of these companies try to make a present day interpretation of what they're saying, but not actually just making dialogue that is close to what is said in the Japanese language. I think, and honestly, I think the one that did that the most, or at least one of them, was Ghost Stories. But let's be honest here, that one was intentionally set up to be, kind of a parody of itself. But anyway.
Jello then states, quote, "I'd like to give Marissa insane props for doing absolutely everything they could to handle this element of production respectfully. The Seiko introductory episode is about Seiko's gender identity, so it's not like we could write it out entirely, but we changed a lot of things to take the edge off. Nobuko's initial dislike of Seiko was changed from, 'I don't know, I don't like her, my trans radar is going off,' to being jealous there's another cute girl on campus and not wanting to lose out to a freshman," unquote. As shown from the previous clip, this is entirely false. The original subs already expressed that Nobuko saw her as a rival from the get-go. Quote, "In the sub, Otani and Risa's end of episode reactions could generously be called confused, but they got the spirit about the whole thing. We wrote those to be a lot more supportive of Seiko, especially Otani's dialogue, which made it pretty clear he was still kind of disgusted by her. Lanty passed this episode in its script by multiple trans sensitivity readers, and not only made sure to cast a trans person as Seiko, but also to cast as many of the trans actors who auditioned for her as possible. I don't have an exact number, but I think the Lovecom dub has something like 20 trans and B actors in it. It's one of the transiest anime dubs in existence, if not the transiest trans rights," unquote. There were changes made to how Seiko was viewed and views herself. This is a clip of the dub with the original subs as to provide a clear comparison.
Instead, there's a boy's name, Seishiro. Could that actually be the same person?
This is changed virtually any time Seiko's gender is brought up. This is another example.
You still have a shot at being Otani's girlfriend. I ruined my chance by coming on too strong.
I asked Jello about these changes. He responded with, quote, "Part of localization is modernizing language. We had a trans-sensitive reader take a look at the script alongside several other queer staff members, including Marissa, a gender, and Seiko's own actor."
That's stupid. Localization is modernizing language. That's bullshit. Your job is to basically just translate and, create dialogue, again, similar to what was said in the original work. Not to try to modernize it. This is why a lot of people are so fucking pissed with dubs nowadays. is because at this point you have people that think, oh, we need to modernize it. No, you don't fucking need to modernize it. Just fucking make dialogue, transition dialogue that was in Japanese into fucking English. That's all you need to do. That's your fucking job.
Fluid, and they unanimously said, in 2023, no trans person would ever say that about themselves, unquote. Overall, the changes, according to Jello, were done for the sake of modernization and accessibility to a current-day audience. Jello also states, quote, for a story as ultimately trans-affirming as Seiko's is, this struck us as a well-intentioned line from a cisgender creator that was probably just a little uninformed about the topic. In fairness, it was not an easy thing to research when this was written. If Lovecom was a 24-episode story fully centered around Seiko and the challenges she faced as a trans person in the early 2000s, I think we would have kept this line. However, Lovecom is not a story about Seiko, unquote. Beyond the changes that may have bothered some was the arrogance of Jello's Patreon post that bothered many. Quote, despite everything about the original incarnation of this anime, this dub turned out just so funny. We really funneled our frustration into comedy and wrote a lot of good jokes while also improving as much of the relationship between the leads as possible. Here are lots of scenes where Risa yells at Otani, and a lot of scenes where Otani reacts to Risa by inappropriately laughing at her. Many of you probably already know this about me, but I am a romantic and love writing actual good romance, TM, because nobody else on Earth seems to know how to do it. Improving the relationship between the leads in Lovecom took surgical precision, unquote. Jello states that Otani starts annoying, but by the end of the series, ends up pretty cute. However, he states Risa, the female protagonist, is unsalvageable. Quote, fun fact, we canonically wrote and directed Risa as a psychopath who doesn't understand empathy, and Otani being in a cycle of abuse without realizing it. At one point, Otani literally tells Risa he, quote, bought a gift for her in preparation for the next time she got mad at him, which is what resolves their current tiff. That's a trauma response, and it's in the saga. Uh-oh, sisters. Frankly, having the dub come out this good in the end is a little frustrating. Anyone who watched the show as a kid and has fond memories of it and revisits the dub will think, wow, it's just as good as I remembered. No, it isn't. We made it good. This show sucked, unquote. Jello goes on to praise the dub's voice actors while stating one of the original Japanese voice actors sucked. Afterwards, he talks about the dynamic between Risa and her best friend.
Again, continuing to shit on the work that you were given. I mean, come on, man. And it's like and I would have to guess it's no wonder why like a lot of people weren't happy with it. It's because again, you have the people working on the dub, basically shitting on the original work.
To that stating, quote, anyways, all that is to say, Lenti and I spent a long time on this dub. I'm very, very proud of the work we did. I think we turned an unremarkable and frustrating 3 out of 10 show into a pretty funny and mostly watchable 7 out of 10.
Sure,
I want to show off what we did. However, I don't really want to recommend that people watch Lovecom in order to see it, unquote. The last bit was a nail in the coffin. Practically every time Jello is greatly displeased with the series, he targets the writer or creator, which hardly seems to bring favor. This time was no different. Quote, this is one of those series that was written by a very strange person, kind of like 50 Shades of Grey, and it just gets stranger and stranger the longer you look into it. The way the characters talk and interact is wrong. The way Risa is painted as a good guy despite making exclusively bad decisions makes everything feel like it's written by a woman with I hate drama in her Twitter bio and 5 separate call-out tweets right below it. You get the sense that the author sees the world the same way Risa Koizumi does. And Risa Koizumi as a character only makes sense if she is a psychopath who doesn't understand human empathy. Of note, the mangaka also has a cameo in the final episode of the anime. She shows up as a fashion designer and everyone praises how pretty and talented she is. She then tells Risa, it's my job to make you look good. I think you failed, ma'am. Lenti was the head writer on this and all her decisions were final. But I did tell them that if we didn't cut the characters praising the mangaka out of the episode in our dub, I would quit the co-writing position on the spot, unquote. This did happen to an extent. A line of Risa saying the mangaka was really cool was rewritten.
It's my job to make you look good, trust me.
But still, it's impossible.
Don't worry, I got you, girl.
I feel so out of place.
The praise of the mangaka was not entirely taken out. This is a clip just about a minute later.
You did great out there! Don't let it go to your head. You just had a really good stylist, that's all.
Nakahata's the absolute best in the business, that's for sure.
Stylist. Flatterer.
The first change could have been a coincidence. I asked Jello about this and he explained that his comment was a joke. I did not actually threaten to quit. I just thought after all my critiques and the rest of the post, it was a good button at the end to say, I cannot believe the author literally appeared as a self-insert to say, wow, what a great job I did, and have the characters call her pretty. I still think this is an extremely weird move, unquote. Jello also posted a link.
I mean, a lot of times, creators of manga or, TV shows will, especially in anything, they will insert themselves. I mean, are we gonna bitch and moan every time Stan Lee inserted himself to talk to the characters for every single Marvel movie? By the way, R.I.P. Stan Lee. But overall, I mean, people are allowed to do that. I mean, it's their work. They're allowed to, take part in it if they wanted to.
With some Discord interactions he had discussed in the show. In these, he also belittles the author. Quote, imagine the biggest and only accomplishment of your career being Lovecom, frowny face, unquote. While it can be argued that many changes were done to modernize the show or to capture the author's true intent, there are some that are purely self-referential.
If you spend your school year screwing around, then you don't get a summer break. Otherwise, you'll end up as an underappreciated teacher, or worse, a voice actor.
Finally, there are at least 3 instances of the dub breaking the fourth wall, which was never present in the sub.
Okay, girl, we've been at this for 6 episodes. Just do yourself and everyone else a favor and admit that you like him already.
Hey, guess they're back to normal.
Oh, great. Now we're back to square one. Like the last 8 episodes didn't even happen. You two had it.
Why would they... Okay.
You and Ryoji ended up together by the end of the first episode, in my anime!
That was the majority of the Patreon posts,
Why would
but
you
not
do
even
a lot
close
of...
to the majority of the changes the dub made.
Oh, hold on. Like, why would you do so many, like... And if it wasn't like, why would you... Why would... Oh my gosh. That makes no sense. It really doesn't. I mean, if it wasn't in the original work, why would you do that? At the very least, with like characters like that, I'm using Marvel as a reference again. At least with characters like Deadpool, or at the very least Gwenpool, for that matter, they literally had the ability to break the fourth wall. In fact, I mean, let's face it, Gwenpool apparently had the ability to basically break comic continuity. So, in terms of like those particular characters, they had the notion and the ability to break the fourth wall. That's just so weird that you would do that, and especially with it not being in the original work.
This is because most of the changes are imperceivable without directly comparing them to the Saba. Even though that is the would-be heart of the controversy, the real controversy came from Jello's arrogance. It also came from the ongoing conversation about what adaptation should be. How much freedom should the adapters have? With this post being spread out of Jello's typical audience, backlash was swift. Around the 11th, Sound Cadence and Discotheque released their statements. As a reminder, Sound Cadence was a company Jello was previously contracted by.
Yeah.
Their statement starts with making it clear that Jello's comments were his own. Secondly, Sound Cadence explains that this was a collaborative project. Quote, in this case, while this individual did help create scripts for Lovely Complex, those scripts then went through a head writer, 2 supervisors, the end client at Discotheque, as well as the Japanese licensor, and those scripts were then vetted and approved by all those parties before being recorded. Unquote. As for Discotheque, their statement came through Justin Novakast. Being an owner of a different company who collaborates with them, he made the statement for them. It echoes Sound Cadence's statement while also clarifying that, quote, dubs commonly punch up comedy and smooth over rough patches so that the end product aligns with the show's intended audience and provokes the intended response, and there will always be shades of gray when adapting a work, unquote. The statement also expresses disappointment in Jello's lack of professional discretion, and also that they, quote, will not be working with him in the future, unquote. Just as Jello deleted his Patreon post within a day, these statements would also be removed shortly after posting. Justin later clarified that this was because they needed to coordinate some stuff behind the scenes, and they were asked to take these statements down. However, Justin made his own comments throughout February, like this one saying that Jello's backstab of Marissa was criminal. Justin also responded to Jello's lies about Ibuka's trans radar, stating that he removed things that were never in the show to begin with, which is accurate. What is not accurate is this tweet saying that no changes were made, as changes were made even beyond what is considered to be the gray area of dubbing. As previously shown, there were changes made with Seiko, additions of self-referential lines, and fourth wall breaks that were never there to begin with. This is a running theme. No party is able to accurately tell the story. This is especially true for those covering it with an angle of displeasure towards the lack of accuracy, which is ironic. While there are videos that cover Jello from a larger perspective and focus on his arrogance and possible artistic vandalism, a fair portion of videos lambast Jello for being inaccurate to the story, or adding his own spin and changing it to fit his views, which is arguably true. However, they themselves are very much guilty of this, of entirely lying and changing the story, stating things that did not happen and showing a lack of care of the source material. Quote, woke localizer ruins an anime and finds out they're fired, unquote. Nearly every part of this title is a lie. The dub, for its small viewer base, was actually well received. On Amazon, it's rated 4.8 stars. The lowest review at 3.5 stars is one citing the controversy as the reason for the rating. And this review, in what it is stating, is also incorrect because it states that Jello was fired. He was never fired. No statement released expressed this. This is another reason Asmongold's title is a lie. It also lies by implying that Jello quote-unquote found out that they were fired, which would require him to react to a thing that never happened. This title is representative of what is found in the video.
Even if true, this fails to address the issue. It's not the words in and of themselves, it's the fact that it's an incorrect rewrite rather than a translation. Which is exactly true. That's 100% what the problem is. This statement is so dogshit, man. They didn't fire him for changing that shit. They fired him for getting caught. No, they probably didn't even give a fuck or care to begin with, and now they found out about it. They're like, okay, you're out.
That was a statement from Discotheque, which Jello never worked under. This appears to be a running falsehood in videos covering the story.
Blabber's lack of professional discretion is supposedly what got him fired.
This next video doesn't even pronounce the name right, on top of incorrectly stating Jello is blacklisted.
Because of...
This next video does it in videos covering the story.
Blabber's lack of professional discretion is supposedly what got him fired.
This next...
Blabbers? I mean, it sounds like blabber. That seems kind of petty.
Doesn't even pronounce the name right, on top of incorrectly stating Jello is blacklisted.
Because of this individual's lack of professional discretion, they will not be working with him in the future.
Okay,
AKA,
that one.
JELLOAPOCALYPSE is blacklisted from the industry.
Looking at Jello's IMDb and seeing that he has upcoming roles and had other roles in 2024 proves that this was false. This appears to be a running lie across social media. Luckily, there is this video, or rather stream VOD, titled Did JELLOAPOCALYPSE Get Blacklisted from Anime? The creator even accepts that there is much misinformation floating about.
This is a very complicated topic, and there's a lot of information, a lot of misinformation, and not all of it is as clear as one might say. Discotheque and Sound Cadence confirm all of the scripts that Jello worked on were then revamped by the head writer, by supervisors, by Discotheque, and ultimately by the Japanese licensor.
Okay. Nowhere in that statement is evidence that the script was revamped or improved by its reviewers. It only states it went through the aforementioned parties, but does not state whether they made changes. Justin even confirms Japan made no changes.
This is all, again, breaking NDA. You are not supposed to share these sorts of stories unless you have expressed permission to do so, for many legal reasons.
Quote, the acting NDA covered up until the show's release. As a standard, you are not permitted to announce a dub's production or your character until after the production is finished. After a show's release, the actor is free to talk about their involvement. I waited until after the cast was announced and the Blu-ray was officially released to make my post. No NDAs were broken, unquote. This was from an email I received from Jello. As for the original point of that video, did JELLOAPOCALYPSE get blacklisted from anime? That question was not answered definitively. On top of the IMDb credits showing that he wasn't, this was Jello's response to me. While there may be caution in hiring Jello for adaptations, he is not blacklisted from the industry. He is still getting roles for voice acting. Though there is the commonality of accuracy, or rather lack thereof, in some of the changes to Lovely Complex and the videos covering Jello's controversy, there is a distinction in that Jello made his changes with intent, while those covering the story at best were incompetent. There is also the arrogance. It is hard to say that this affected Lovely Complex much at all. As per the reviews on Amazon, it is highly rated. And because of its niche nature, the dub is not available anywhere online to purchase besides the Blu-rays. The actual product was only
I'll be honest, I'm just gonna watch the sub if I watch that.
If the CEO of Sound Cadence did not make it a personal project because she loved the series so much. And if Jello never made that Patreon post, there likely would never have been a controversy at all. This is why all of this lands on Jello. There appears to be a lack of an ability to make a professional separation. On that note, there's also Pepper Spot Sunshine. Creator Toastify made a video on this, exploring the theory that Jello has a secret fart fetish account that fetishizes minors. The video is inconclusive. It provides the evidence that a different creator, known as Animator James, stated that a creator of a sizable following had the same fart fetish that he does. More importantly is a screenshot in which the theory hinges on.
Probably the strongest piece of evidence to support this claim is a screenshot of Jello commenting on a fetish video on YouTube almost 10 years ago, in which supposedly someone is asking for the name of the person in the video, and Jello's answered here. And yeah, this image is pretty clear-cut. Again, does this mean Jello is Pepper Spot? No, but this is clear-cut evidence that Jello is the same fetish as the Pepper Spot account.
I asked Toastify for the source, but being that his video was released in 2022, his recollection was foggy. Reverse searching this image brings up a Twitter post from 2019. There are likely other sources, but this is the best Google Lens could muster. Searching for the video on YouTube shows that it was either renamed or removed, as nothing pops up. There is also the possibility that someone made an account with Jello's likeness to frame him. This is all to say that there is no strong evidence that this is Jello. There are other bits of evidence, such as the similarities in the art, and the hiatus the artist took coinciding with epithelial-based production. I asked Jello about Pepper Spot Sunshine. He stated he was aware of the account. He attempted to find the source of the allegations, but failed to. He also stated, quote, I don't usually talk about this one in public because I can't prove a negative, and frankly, I know a lot of minors follow me. I don't want to be like, hey, this guy isn't me, and post a link to scat art. That feels like it'd do more harm than good, unquote. I asked Jello about the screenshot and he claims it was fake. He tried to find the original video in order to find the account, but also found that it was missing. As for where Jello's current reputation stands, that can be demonstrated through his This Is Basically video on One Piece. The majority of Jello's So This Is Basically videos have a reputation of light ribbing, while also capturing what makes a series or game so beloved despite its flaws. Yeah. 2 of his videos were even sponsored by the product he was making the video on. So what happens when Jello takes a long-running beloved series, dedicates his second half to targeting the writer, and makes this video the return to the This Is Basically series? What happens is you get a poorly received product.
Watch his breasts grow larger, negative space grows rarer, and the art gets sketchier and sketchier because the artist would literally rather kill himself than accept help from or credit any of his assistants. Your daughters care about you, Oda. You know what you can do to show them that you care about them?
Oh, sexualize another child their age?
These are some of the top comments found on the video.
Oh God.
Guys, I'm starting to think that maybe this isn't satirical and maybe he doesn't like One Piece. First half, man, why is everyone so mad? This is funny. Second half, did Lily Orchard write this? Unquote. There are many criticisms and videos voicing their displeasure of the This Is Basically One Piece video. It did not perform well in terms of reception and viewership. From an email from Jello, quote, that video in particular did surprise me with how huge the backlash it had. It did fine for the first 48 hours or so, but then it started getting picked up by circles that clearly disagree with it, or at times even willfully misrepresented it. YouTube even shadow banned the video for a while, and you couldn't even search the video itself. Only reactions to it would come up. I was the uploader, and even I couldn't find the original without going directly to my channel first. I've never seen YouTube do that to me before. I think that for a lot of people, the big sticking point is that I included the creator as a character in the video, and took some shots at him directly. People really did not like that. The One Piece fandom loves Oda, unquote. Jello goes
I mean, okay, granted, I'll say this. I mean, people... I would have to say comedy is subjective. I mean... If you're gonna take, I mean, especially if you're taking, you know, shots at other people, if for work that you're not very fond of, and I know some people, you know, to an extent, I mean, in some sense, I mean, it's criticizing the creator, but it doesn't help if you're just gonna take pot shots at him.
To explain that through a One Piece book club, his taste on Oda soured. Quote, I see him as a 50-year-old guy, 48 at the time the video was written, who could use his unmatched, I don't even have an editor anymore, levels of power in the manga industry to do good, normalize hiatus, and make his deeply troubled industry better for himself and his fellow artists. But instead, he uses that power to overwork himself, not credit his assistants, and talk a lot about how much he likes big boobs to children who write him letters. And I think that's weird. Not very smart of me to say, I guess, but that's just my problem. I can't keep my mouth shut when I think something's bad and could be better.
Okay, that one's you know, that statement's understandable.
That is it. Jello's outspoken nature is the root of every controversy. From the
so he seems to be very outspoken.
And now One Piece. Jello has an ability to incite great displeasure by underestimating the weight of his words, yet his transgressions and the backlash of them hardly ever amount to anything. He is in a space where discussion of him is rife with misinformation. Much of it overshadows the true impact. The Vote video had virtually no effect on his channel's performance, as it was deleted soon after posting. Lovely Complex was well received by those that purchased the dub, and in terms of direct effect on his channel, the One Piece video was the most damaging in its poor performance and the loss of subscribers. In this way, Jello is arguably the most impacted. The lasting sour taste from viewers has allowed misinformation to spread easier. The disdain for him is compounding, and perhaps all of this has now affected his channel's viewership. At 500,000 in February 2025, it is at its lowest viewership since the channel began uploading. Another likely cause could be the channel's lack of This Is Basically videos. Whatever the case, Jello's story is a cautionary tale in how a poor reputation can warp information, overinflate impact, and overshadow one's own achievements.
Jeez. So, ultimately, we have a creator that who's very, very, very outspoken, especially with some of the content that he's made. But at the same time, there's certain things that, you know, especially when he's working on a project, he probably shouldn't be saying certain things in the event that it would negatively impact the work that the project that he's working on. I will say, like, certain things I can kind of understand. Some things I'm kind of a little bit confused about in terms of, like, why would you try to not only modernize, but also just completely change the dialogue of a particular show? I will say, you know, and adding on to, especially when they're talking about that Lovecom show, it does seem like, you know, despite, you know, a lot of the changes, there were people that still very much enjoyed it. Which, you know, good on them for those that did enjoy it. But there are going to be those people that are going to be a little bit frustrated with you changing things that weren't even necessary or even, like, brought up in the show. And also to bash the freaking creators too, even when they, like, insert themselves into the work. But yeah, this was, like, all over the place in terms of, like, you know, this controversy or this controversy. But I think bottom line, I mean, in terms of this particular situation, again, he's very outspoken, and that, unfortunately, that has kind of gotten him in trouble. That's my takeaway from this. So, anyway, I think for now, I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. This was, again, really interesting. So, thank you all for watching. Truly appreciate it. If you guys can, please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. If you guys want to follow us on social media, it's all in the description down below, as well as check out our daily content and the weekly podcast. With that being said, this is Rob Novakast signing off. Have a good one. Take care. And I'll see you guys next video.